Welcome to the Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock, joined here with Tam McManus, Scott Allen and Ryan McGowan. Lots to talk about today on the show. Scotland gain a point in their draw with Portugal. Neil Critchley excited to get things started at Hearts. Can the Dons come to Glasgow and pick up their 14th win of the season? And has Alex Ferguson been left in the cold at United? Tam, let's start with Scotland. What did you make of the performance overall?
I thought it was a great performance, to be honest. I thought that we defended really strongly, created the better chances, I think, to win the game. I think McTominay's got to score. I think you want that if 41 person in the Scotland jersey, it's Scott McTominay. Heads it straight to the goalkeeper. I think Chris's is a good chance as well. It drops to the edge of the box. Portugal huffed and puffed, never really looked like breaking us down, I don't think, until maybe the last 10-15 minutes. They brought Lowell on, went wide, and he gave Ralston a bit of a tanking in the last 10-15 minutes, but I thought we deserved the draw, and I'm just glad they've got what we deserved. I don't think we got it against Croatia. In every game, if you look at every game in this group, we've been competitive in every game, so I think we're improving. I think we're definitely improving from the Euros to now. I think we're improving. But the cynics will still say was it 1 in 16 now? It depends what way, if you're glass half full or glass half empty. But I was pretty impressed with the performance.
Scott, does it make a difference now that we have a lot of players having got that experience of playing abroad?
I think it does. I think obviously playing in different countries, obviously you adjust to different kind of systems, different type of players. But just to echo what Tam says in terms of where we're now at, considering after how poor we were at the Euros, I think there is a big improvement taking into consideration the teams we've been playing against. We look as if we have a style of playing on top of that with the injuries and the call-offs that we've had. I think the players can hold their heads high, and Steve Clarke, to be honest.
Well, Steve Clarke says even though it's just 1 win in 16, there's certainly not been a confidence issue within the squad.
No, their confidence was fine. Everybody keeps talking about their confidence, but their confidence was fine because they know they can play well. Maybe with the ball tonight we didn't play quite as well as we normally do. I think a lot of the missed passes were probably down a little bit to fatigue because I asked a lot of the same boys to do a double header in the games. But no, I don't think they lack confidence. Obviously tonight's point against one of the top European sides is going to give us more confidence going into or even more confidence going into the November games. And we go to those games determined to get more points on the board.
And and Portugal manager Roberto Martinez says he's very impressed with the way that Steve Clarke have got Scotland playing at the moment.
Absolutely, I think it's not a surprise. I think we had 2 tough games, but I think Poland and Croatia had 2 tough games as well. You're talking about very small margins. I think Steve Clarke is building a national team that it looks like a club, and that's a big compliment. Everybody works for each other. They know the structure. They're brave when they have to be. They got quick attacks. They got a lot of quality. Scottish players playing abroad makes a big difference. Playing the Serie A, getting the experience of the Premier League. There's a very good dressing room.
Ryan, is there a different feel to playing with a club in and out every week to then going to play for your country?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially when you're playing abroad and then you get to come back and see, like, most of them will kind of be friends or teammates and get that catch up that you've maybe not had at club level. You know, the boys that have just gone to Italy, they'll be loving the time spending it back in Scotland, seeing family. So, you know, like what the manager said there, I think it is a real close-knit group. They seem to all enjoy training and playing together, and fingers crossed they can start picking up the points that probably their performances deserve.
Tam, one of the key moments in the game was probably Craig Gordon's crucial save in the second half. I think every Scottish goalkeeper must be thinking, when is he going to hang up his boots so that I can get a go at this?
Yeah, I mean, he's 41 now, Craig. I remember playing him with Scotland under 21s. A long time ago, and he's still going.
13.
I know. But he's still playing. It's incredible. And it was a fantastic save. I didn't have a lot to do in terms of saves, but just that one save at the end, it just felt. I think it was Ronaldo, and he nearly scored. But nah, it was a fantastic save, and I think after that, I felt we were going to see the game out. And then obviously Ronaldo has his wee strop in the toy. He's got the palm at the end, which we'll maybe talk about. But no, listen, I think he's got to sell back into the team at Hearts, and a lot of people will now be saying, well, why did we not take him to the Euros? But he's going straight into the team now, so I think he's still got a year or 2 in him. If he's playing every week for Hearts, he's still fit and agile, and I think he'll decide when he's going to retire rather than the other way about.
Did you guys ever play with anybody that you thought just never would retire, always had the ability right up to the end?
I wish he retired earlier. When I was
Anybody come to mind?
In terms of what, like being super fit.
Just, yeah, was at the top of their game the whole time.
I've got one, Craig Brewster, when I played with Brewster at Hibs.
Right.
Craig joined Hibs when he was 34, and I thought, he's good, but he's can't really run. And he played till he was 40 with Dunfermline. He played for another 6 years, and I've kept seeing him in the Premier League with Stevie Crawford. He was class. So for me, Craig Brewster's probably the one that I thought, is he ever going to retire? Eventually he did, but he played till he was 40 odd.
John Rankin was another one that was just super fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Played with him at Dundee United, and he was, I'm pretty sure he completed the beep, like the yo-yo test. He finished it. It was just like no one ever finishes the yo-yo test. And he finished it.
I didn't even start it. That's what I mean.
But yeah, he was one that was like super professional, didn't eat, ate properly, didn't have McDonald's.
No, McDonald's was the last game of the
season. He would have a McDonald's, and then on holiday he would have one glass of Coca-Cola, and that was the only sort of soft drink or sweets or that he would have all season.
Wow.
Sounds like a good laugh that night.
It was great at the Christmas do.
Right, you mentioned Ronaldo, Tam. Not a fan of throwing the toys out the pram?
Nah, I've never been a fan of Ronaldo. Listen, take it away. He's a fantastic player. He's world class. He's fit. He's looked after himself. His hunger, everything, his desire, everything about him. In terms of his football career is fantastic. One of the best ever. Just never really taken to him as a player. I don't know him. Which is maybe I don't know. Maybe it's been really unfair because you get that with people. You've got an impression of them for what they're like in the park, and they're not like that off the park. But his antics at the end last night. There's lots of kids there, watching the game and look up to him. And they
really do with him.
They look up to him because we were talking about before the show. There's a lot of younger kids are Team Ronaldo rather than Team Messi. So, I didn't really like it. And I felt it was kind of all about him. Same in the Euros. But listen, there'll be people shouting, what are you talking about? But he's not a big fan of mine. I'm a Messi man.
I'm not having Ronaldo.
I'm not having Ronaldo. I'm not jealous because he's got a six-pack, he's good looking, but I'm not having him.
So you've never lost your temper on the pitch to save it for the dressing room, or?
I have lost it. But I just didn't like it. For an experienced player, and there's kids there that were probably all. Thankfully, the schools are half this week. They would be copying them in the classroom, but I didn't like it. And but that just shows you how well Scotland done to frustrate them. And remember, wee boy Doak fouled him, and I think he looked up to him to start laughing. I think Ronaldo was going, "Who are you?" But he's not for me.
Not
Cristiano,
for you.
No.
Is there a fine line, Ryan, between throwing the toys out the pram and passion?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with what Tam said. I thought it was a bit over the top. It wasn't as if the referee had cost them the game. It was a bit
dramatised.
I think he was moaning because they didn't let the corner come in. I think that was his biggest type of thing. But yeah, I felt like it was just super over the top. If they maybe had a couple of goals chalked off and the ref had an absolute stinker, you could understand it a little bit more. But yeah, he's surely old enough and experienced enough to realise that. I think it was his first time playing in Scotland. There were so many kids that would have just went just to see him. Just be a little bit cuter about it, I guess. Yeah.
Just to put it on the opposite then, have you ever been on the end of a manager who's lost the rag in the dressing room? Oh. You definitely have. Yeah. You've said your stories before.
In terms of personal?
Or at anybody else?
Yeah, I've obviously had Lennon. No Lennon. all day.
There you go.
I feel like every podcast somebody's got a story about Lenny going off his head. But yeah, he was. I think with him it was just in the heat of the moment he would say what he was feeling and then he would start to calm down a couple of weeks later. But I liked that sort of management. What you see is what you get. I really liked that.
Did he ever go at you?
No, do you know what? I didn't get many.
He must have been his boy then.
Again, his boy. Again, get a few. Lou Stevenson get a few. Stud footwear and all that. The big one was footwear.
If you're slipping and all that. Aye.
If you had Maldies on, you were under a major P if you'd slipped in the game and somebody got a chance off it.
You were told to change your boots, were you not, in the past?
I was. That was with Bobby Olmston when I was at Hibs because I'd get sponsored by Nike. Don't know how I get a Nike contract.
Wow.
I was just got them. I was doing well at Hibs. I was scoring goals and a really tatty old pair of Umbro Specials. The Umbro sign was hanging off them, but I was banging goals in. And my agent says, "Listen, go to your Nike," and I put them on. I took the boots off that I was flying with and put them on.
You feel
amazing? I had a shocker against Dundee United at home. And at half time, Bobby's like, "You've got get the boots off while you're coming off.
What ones was it? Like total 90s?
No, it was like silver Nikes. Silver total 90 Nikes. Like pure dazzling. I was pure black Umbro Specials. And I remember going out to warm up and Bobby's just staring at me going, "You get new boots and all that?" He was raging. And I had a stinker.
It was such a thing back then, even like when I was coming through. Like I remember the first time I ever wore a pair of light coloured boots. Like I felt under real pressure.
White boots or silver boots.
It feels as if everybody's looking at you because
Everybody's got them now. But what the biggest rant I've ever seen was Stephen Presley at Falkirk. Boy Jack Compton was a winger for us, a typical winger, hot and cold. And we played a pre-season game at Peterhead. And Jack had a stinker and he was walking about and Elvis went, honestly, I'm not joking, I was nearly crying, saying you'll never play another game for me, you'll never have a career, you're a show pony, you're this, you're that. Absolutely destroyed him for about 10 minutes and then never played him again, just released him. In a pre-season game because he walked about and Elvis shouted on him to come on, get moving, and he told him to F off, and that was it.
That was that.
So that was the biggest.
Where did he go for there?
I don't think he done anything after that. I think Elvis was probably right, but boy Jack Compton at Falkirk, Stephen Presley rinsed him. Like I was destroyed him.
Wow,
Worst I've ever seen, personal everything.
Nicky Devlin will certainly be hoping that wasn't the chat that Steve Clarke gave him after the game after making his debut last night. We'll maybe get back to Nicky Devlin in a moment. Ryan, your first international debut came against Scotland. Is that right? Easter Road?
Easter Road. On my birthday as well.
Yeah. What was the reception like with the Hearts connection?
I got booed every time I touched it. I got booed when I was warming up. I got booed when I came on.
Fans?
Was that the Australian fans?
Easter Road. Yeah. But yeah, it was good. Obviously, as soon as that game kind of, that friendly was sort of penciled in, I was like, oh, that's the one that I might get a chance at. And then, it was just perfect being in Scotland, and I was still at Hearts at the time, so I had a lot of friends and family that were here, and it was August 2012, so it was just after the Cup final, Thomas. So it was it was at Easter Road, so I was getting pelters as soon as I walked out, but it was good. I think we got beat 3-1. I think it was. But yeah, I came on last 10-15 minutes and it was really good.
The reception, can you block that out if you two been on the end of that? Do you hear it? Do you pay much attention to it?
I think it's when there's less fans there, isn't it? It's worse. When you're playing at the wee grounds, like if there's a couple hundred people there, you just hear everything. If there's 50,000 there, you just don't hear it and you just get on with the game.
Right.
But Scott will probably tell you about Celtic, probably you can hear everything or some of the grounds you go to.
No, genuinely, I've found it a lot more, and I have had some abuse obviously at bigger stadiums, but not on the scale where you hear it's so clear, it's so quiet. It's actually funny though. I genuinely think it's funny. Like somebody running down the line, you're chuckling. You know what I mean? Because guys are absolutely hammering you.
Hard not to give it back.
Not yet. They end up, the way you react to it, you have a laugh about it. They end up laughing themselves. You know, I think that's part and parcel of Scottish football. So I wouldn't take it away.
Nah, Sam.
No, aye.
A lot of it in your time.
Oh, what was the name of that? Harrisburg Islanders, who play in America, are now defunct. I played for them for Rochester Rhinos against Harrisburg. I played for Rochester Rhinos, right? They were a team, right? And the American USL, right? Right, I know. Right, against the hamburger.
It's the cheeseburgers.
Harrisburg Islanders, right? Some places in Pennsylvania. I'm not right.
This is a true or
And
false.
it's funny, we were playing this game and you didn't get any abuse at all in America. Like nobody knew who you were, nobody cared, right? They were just sitting eating burgers and drinking beer. So 5 minutes into this game, there's this two guys, and they were Scottish, and I don't know who they were, and they were just giving me it constantly, like eating pizzas. Man, it's your shite, crap. Go back to Scotland and all that. And then I scored after about 15 minutes. And I ran over and grabbed the one of them was eating a slice of pizza, and I just ran right over to him and grabbed the slice of pizza and took a bite of it. That's a true story, by the way. You get footage of it. I know, it might be on YouTube somewhere, but...
Can you do the impression of the accent of how they shouted at you?
You suck, McManus.
Did you say they were Scottish?
Yeah. So, if he was American.
Oh dear, right, okay, that's the Scotland duties done and dusted for another day. Here's Cara with the news.
Hello and welcome to your Daily News headlines on Wednesday, 16th of October, sponsored by Arnold Clarke. Heart of Midlothian CEO Andrew McKinlay says that the club are delighted to have Neil Critchley as manager and that they are lucky to have him.
He's worked with some really, really impressive people. I can't imagine these are people that suffer fools gladly. So I think in many ways we are lucky that we have Neil here, and I'm genuinely delighted that we have him here.
Steve Clarke celebrated Craig Gordon's save last night to keep the game level, which is something that he says he hasn't done in a long time.
When they did create the big chance, Craig made the save, which is first time in a long time I've celebrated a goalkeeper save. I was talking to John and actually celebrated it. So it meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to everybody in the stadium, because that's what gets you the point.
Midfielder Lewis Morgan said that the Scotland boys were excellent last night as they fought hard to grab a well-deserved point.
Yeah, I mean, well-earned point, obviously against a top side, and the manager reiterated before the game tonight that there's no shortcuts to beating a pot 1 team or taking points off a pot 1 team, and we've done that tonight. I think the boys are excellent.
Finally, Thomas Tuchel has said that he is very proud and honoured to be the new England manager. And could Kieran Tierney be making a return to Celtic in the new year, as the club are reportedly monitoring the left-back's situation with Arsenal? Those were your Daily News headlines on Wednesday, 16th of October, sponsored by Arnold Clarke. If you want more exclusive news and content, please be sure to follow PLZ Soccer channels.
Well, this weekend players will return to their respected clubs as Scottish Premiership returns. Let's see what's on the agenda. Celtic host Aberdeen in what could be the game of the weekend. Dundee United welcome Hibs. Neil Critchley takes his first game in charge as Hearts boss against St Mirren. Motherwell take on Dundee, St Johnstone against Ross County, and then Sunday Kilmarnock will face Rangers in the early kick-off time of 12 o'clock. Celtic against Aberdeen. Scott, is it the biggest test of Jimmy Tulline's Aberdeen career so far?
Yeah, without doubt. Obviously, we've seen how Celtic have started the start of the season domestically. They've been on fire, creating chances at will, and defensively been very sound. So this will, I don't want to see where they're at because it's such a difficult game for Aberdeen. But if they do manage to come away with a point, in my opinion, I think Celtic will win a point or run Celtic close. I think they'll take a lot of confidence from it.
Ryan, both clubs have started very well in the season. Do you think it'll be as close as what most are expecting it to be?
I'm not too sure. I've only seen Aberdeen a couple of times this season, but I do think that Celtic are just miles ahead of everybody. So, like what Scott said, if they can go there and put in a good performance, whether they win, lose or draw, I think the Aberdeen fans will just be wanting to see them go there with a little bit of confidence, knowing that if they do get something, then I think it's a real race for second if they can go and get something. But if not, they just want to see that their teams there or thereabouts and going to Celtic, so far into the season undefeated, they'll be going in there full of confidence.
Celtic have conceded just 1 goal, Tam, Aberdeen 2. Are they on par when it comes to the backline, the defensive duties of both sides?
No, I think Celtic are stronger. I think Aberdeen have had a favourable run of games, not taking anything away from them. They've been fortunate a few times playing clubs that come back from Europe on a Thursday night. I think if they can go down to Parkhead and be competitive, I fancy Celtic strongly. I think Celtic will turn up. They always do in these big games, and I think there's a lot of hype about this game, and you've seen it over the years. Teams that start well outside the Old Firm, they go to Ibrox, they go to Celtic Park, and they get turned over. I think that could happen again on Saturday, but if they can go down and be competitive, then they'll believe that they can finish best of the rest. I think their best chance this season is second place, because Rangers, I don't think they're a great team at the minute. I don't think there's, it's great off the pitch either. So, listen, it's a big game, but I just think Celtic will turn up as they always do in big games and win comfortably.
Will they go more attacking, do you think? Will they go toe-to-toe with each other because they'll have the belief and confidence?
I think there'll be a defensive structure within that, because you can want to go toe-to-toe with Celtic at Celtic Park, but unfortunately Celtic dominate the ball, so naturally they'll pin you back and you'll need to defend at times. It's what they can do when they do turn over the ball. Can they hold up? Can they get a focal point to allow the attacking players to get up the pitch and cause Celtic problems? But for me, I just think Celtic are far too strong, especially domestically.
Yeah, well, former Celtic man Joe Muller certainly believes that Aberdeen can cause a bit of problems and can get that second place.
I don't see anything other than Celtic winning the league, to be honest with you. I think they're like a juggernaut where they win games, and if they get the better of Aberdeen at the weekend, then I think they'll go on and win the league at a canter. But they can split the top two sides in Glasgow. But I can't see Celtic being stopped, to be honest.
Sam, do you agree with what he's saying there? Will they go on to continue their title winning ways, Celtic?
Yeah, I think Celtic won the league this season. I think they've got the strongest squad of players and best manager, you know, and they can go and strengthen again in January. I think there's real competition for places in that Celtic team. I don't think you can afford to drop off. Don't think you can afford to have a bad game, you know, because there's somebody waiting to come in and take your place. You know, there's real strength and depth, and the guys will tell you when you're in a good side with strength and depth, with looking over your shoulder, looking at the bench, and you're in the team. You know, you've got to play well, you've got to perform to stay in the team. So I think that will drive Celtic on this season. They will win the league, but it's a big game. You know, Aberdeen come down with confidence, and if Aberdeen score first, then it'd be interesting to see how Celtic react. That's the only way I can see them getting a result, if they score first, or if they can keep it tight, maybe 0-0 to half time and then nick a goal. But I fancy Celtic with the strength they've got.
Yeah, well, they do have, I think it's Dundee United, Ryan, in the middle, and then they play Rangers at Pittodrie, which could, by then, we could be looking at a different league table.
Yeah, I think so, and they'll probably be keeping one eye on those games coming up. I think they'll see this week's game as a bit of a free hit, and then they'll be, you know, really focused on making sure they can beat Dundee United, because then when Rangers come, they want to have that sort of, I think it's 5 points at the moment. They want to have that cushion going into that game. So, yeah, I think that they will be full of confidence, but I think they've never played anything like this Celtic team this season, so it's going to be a real test for them. And like what the boys said, I think Celtic will be way too strong. It's just how they kind of handle, you know, the pressure that comes with it being such a big game, and if they do lose, how they handle that going into the Dundee United game.
Well, it seems to be a general consensus that Aberdeen can cause an upset, as our reporter Kobe was out speaking to Joe Lewis today.
Of course we can split the off. Of course we can. You know, there's no get away from that. You know, we've done it before. I don't believe that Rangers are in a great place, to be honest, right now. They'll go through little spells of winning some games, no doubt, yeah. But I don't think they're in a good place. They're not on solid foundations within their squad and the way they're playing at the moment. And Aberdeen do seem like that at the moment. You know, it's a very short period of time, really, we're talking about, because obviously the last 3 or 4 seasons we've been a bit of a shambles, really. And I mean, I say shambles is probably a harsh word. We've been unbelievably inconsistent.
Yeah, Tam, well, we can certainly hope for a bit of chaos at the top of the table towards the end of the season. But there's a new manager in the capital, Ryan. Mr. Neil Critchley takes the reins at Tynecastle. What's your thoughts on the new appointments?
I think it's one that probably Hearts fans wouldn't have seen coming. I think they were...
Blew you away there, but it looks at that.
Yeah, it was, I just think the whole kind of way they've gone about it has probably not been great. You know, I think the sort of CEO suggested that they weren't speaking to anyone else other than him, when there was like a lot of reports going on that there was a manager that flew in and then flew back out. So they seem to have gone down this sort of route with the data, and this is the name that came out to be the best one, and it's something that Hearts fans, I think, are going to have to get on board. But I do feel it puts a lot of pressure on the Hearts board, you know, with the decision that they've made, and for his sake, he'll need to hit the ground running, because they've got some real tricky games coming up, and the position they find themselves in the league is unacceptable. And if they get a couple of more bad results, he's not going to have any time to bed in, and I think the pressure will certainly be on him, but it'll be on the board as well.
Absolutely. Tam, what do you make of what Brian's saying there, the system that Hearts have used to find who the best candidate is?
It's different. It's something that we've not seen in Scottish football. You know, and we like, as a Scottish football, you know, as a nation, we like to have the norm. We like to have not anything different. You know, we like to, you know, do things the way we've always done them. So it's something different completely. I think when you look at the success at Brighton and at USG with Tony Bloom, that's the way they went about it, and that's been really successful. If it works at Hearts again, then they'll think that they can get closer, not only, you know, to Rangers, but to Celtic as well. So it's an interesting appointment. Like Ryan, I think a lot of the Hearts supporters would have wanted maybe a foreign coach, a sexier name, whatever you want to put. But none of us really know Neil Critchley, how he plays. He could be very front foot attacking manager. You know, so it'll be interesting to see, obviously, the first games at the weekend, how they set up, how they play, what changes from the way they've been playing, and if they go and beat St Mirren, then the fans will get behind them right away. But I think the first 3 or 4 games, when any new manager comes in, is important, because the fans want to get excited. They want to see a certain way of playing, you know, a pattern of play, and they've got some hard games coming up, obviously in Europe as well. So, yeah, I think if you're a Hearts fan, you're a little bit underwhelmed by the appointment when you look purely at his record. But he must have something, because Tony Bloom, I'm sure that they've put a lot of managers, a lot of data into this, whatever it is, the system they use, and he's been one of the two that's came out as the best. So he must tick a lot of boxes for what Hearts are looking for.
Could that same system be used for players, Scott, to see who's the best person to sign for this position, to play in this particular game?
Yeah, I think come the next transfer window, January, then summer, I think you will see that in terms of Hearts using that kind of thing that we've seen at Brighton. Obviously on a different level and different type of wages, because what Brighton are paying for players compared to Hearts is stratospheres away. So I think you will see that. But first and foremost, I think the new manager comes in, he's got to get the best out of what he's got just now. I think this game on Saturday against St Mirren is huge. If they go off to the way we'd want to and get a win and a bit more front foot and a way of playing, I think it gives them a real bit of leeway with the fans. I think that's when you're a manager, that's the thing you want the most. Get off to a win, and it lets you bed yourself in.
Have you ever been proved wrong by a manager as a player, when they come in and you think, okay, right, I don't think this is going to go so well, and then they prove you wrong and you've started to produce results?
I think as a player, you're more looking after yourself, aren't you? Making sure that you're fit and you're doing everything right to get in the starting 11. I think the best one for all of us would be the Ange Postecoglou one. Everybody thought that was underwhelming. Turned out to be one of the best appointments Celtic.
One of the best I thought was Tony Mowbray, even though he got rid of me at Hibs. He came in and straight away the training from Bobby Wilson. Bobby was more he didn't really take the coaching, it was more Jerry McCabe and Jim Clarke, but Tony came in and his training was totally different for Bobby Wilson. Pre-season, for example, under Bobby Wilson, we were running up Arthur's Seat, you know, for 2 weeks, you know, just constant running, which is fine. That was what people done back then. Then Tony came in and the first day with balls out, we were running with the ball, and people were like, we're not doing running. You know, he's like, bring your boots. Never seen a ball. And even with Alec McLeish and Jim Duffy and guys like that, never seen a ball. And Tony came in, and I just thought straight away he's going to be a good manager. And he ended up as a good manager. And the other flip side of that was at Dundee when Alan Kernahan came in, and I thought straight away, nah. And I was proven right. He lasted about 2 minutes. So, I think listen, I'm sure there's managers still look at me and thought, no, I've lasted 2 minutes. But I think generally as a player, you get a feel for a manager right away when he comes in. You think he's pretty good.
Make up your mind right away.
I think so. I think so, and I think that if the dressing room are not showing the manager and he gets off to a bad start, he's goosed. I think if you think he's got it, and then you start winning games, everybody buys into it, and you think, right, we're going to be a decent team under him.
Yeah.
So just on Hearts fixture list coming up, they've obviously got St Mirren this weekend. They're in Europe, Ammonia and Nicosia next week, and then the Edinburgh Derby comes around. So not much time to suss things out, Scott.
No, but they did. I felt personally when I seen the business they'd done this summer that they'd signed well. Signed obviously players who had performed well at other SPFL clubs. So listen, I think a new manager comes in and that all flips if they win on Saturday, and you're looking forward to all the games. It's just trying to stop the rot. They need to start putting the wins together.
And Cara Henderson was out speaking to the new Hearts boss this week.
It's the start of something new here at Tynecastle Park, as Neil Critchley was unveiled as the new Hearts manager. He was introduced by Andrew McKinley, who said he's delighted to have him on board, and it was a decision based on the analytics.
I am delighted to confirm the appointment of our new men's head coach, Neil Critchley. As you'll all know by now from a lot of what I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, this has been a new process for the club, complementing what you would call traditional recruitment methods. We've also been working with a data-led approach, and those analytics have helped inform our decision making, and this approach culminates in this announcement of Neil.
Neil Critchley met his players on Tuesday morning as he took a training session, and he said that he liked what he'd seen and was impressed, but he knows where the faults lie.
I don't want to give you too much information because that might give a little bit away what we might be doing for the weekend, but I think there's some cold hard facts that you look at both ends of the pitch. I think we've conceded practically 2 a game, and we've always scored maybe 6 goals, I think. So stands to reason if that trend continues, then only for one thing that happens. So quite simply, games are decided at both ends of the pitch, and we need to do better at both ends of the pitch.
He takes charge then here at Tynecastle Park, 3 p.m. on Saturday against St Mirren. He'll be hoping for a positive performance. He wants to get that first win of the season under his belt, and he'll know that there's an Edinburgh derby looming in just a week's time. But all eyes, of course, are on Saturday first, and PLZ Soccer will be there to keep you covered. So make sure you follow all of our social media channels.
Yeah, well, speaking of new managers, Tam, England have a new man in charge. Thomas Tuchel becomes the third foreign manager to take charge of the Lions. There's been a bit of backlash about his appointment, being a German. Is that an old school mentality, looking at it like that?
Yeah, I think the world's moved on. I think obviously there's a great rivalry between England and Germany over the years, and I think when you look at the managers that are out of a job at the minute, you know, he's up there with Jurgen Klopp, who's German as well.
Yes.
I think he's a very, very good manager. I think Chelsea have been a shambles since he left. You know, he won the Champions League with Chelsea, and they got off to a poor start, and they fired him, and they've been downhill ever since. Obviously, having a decent season this season, but I think he ticks a lot of boxes. He's got a good mentality. I think the Germans have got a strong mentality when it comes to tournament football. So I think he'll be a good appointment. There was rumours about Pep as well. I'd have loved to have seen Pep with that England, with that talent, or Big Ange, but I think he'll do well. He signed an 18-month contract, so I don't think they're pretty sure of him. But I think he needs to win something. I think that with the squad that England have got, the guys will tell you.
It's not easy though.
It's not easy to win something. They've got to 2 finals, but they've just got such a good squad of players, and maybe they'll play differently. I think Southgate was pretty defensive and pretty boring. Maybe Tuchel will let them off the reins a little bit more.
Yeah, when you look at his CV, Ryan, he's hardly anything to turn your nose up at. It's been the clubs he's spent time at.
Yeah, and I think he's obviously worked in England. He would have worked with some of the players that are in the squad. You know, like what we were touching on before, changing rooms are a crazy place. They would have already been messaging each other, seeing what he's like, see what he. You know, some managers are real particular on one thing and hate another, and I have no doubt that he will do well. And like Tom said, he was probably the best manager that was available at the moment, and then that's probably why he only got 18 months, I think, is because they probably just want to see how he goes, see what he can do with this new team before a tournament start, and yeah, I hope he does reasonably well, but I would hate to see them win anything, so I hope he actually...
Let's just be honest, that is of course the expectation though, that England will want to go on and win something, and the new boss knows that.
And once I made a time frame up in my mind, from January to the World Cup, I felt already excited, and that it suited my passion and my strive to push this group of players and to be part of this federation with such a strong record in the last tournaments, to push it over the line and to try to put a second star on the shirt.
I know he's the best.
Have you ever played under the same manager on 2 separate occasions?
Stephen Kenny.
Yeah.
Dunfermline, and signed me for Derry. Derry get relegated, and Dunfermline get relegated, and Derry City went bust. So not great for Stephen Kenny for signing the Jonah.
No.
Did you play in the Astro at Dunfermline?
I played in the first ever game. It was on the Astro. It was 0-0, and a streaker ran on the park. This is a true story, by the way. A streaker, bollock naked guy, ran on and done a Klinsmann right across it all, and he got up and he had like 3rd-degree burns all right down on his private parts as well.
Guys, ever played under the same manager twice?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it different going back the second time?
You're more familiar. It's obviously
Yeah.
Who were you with? Lenny?
Lenny and Alan Stubbs. And no, that would be the 2. Lenny and Alan Stubbs.
Ryan?
I had Ange Youth International. I had him at under 17 level, and then obviously with the senior team, so that was good. He had changed a fair bit from the under 17s to national team level, but you could even tell when I was 17, 18 that he was going to be a top coach.
Was he all out attack? Obviously, wasn't he with Australia, was he? Was he kind of very front foot attack minded at Australia?
Yeah. He used to, I think I've said it before, we used to go into games against like Brazil and Holland, and he'd be like, we need to get at him, like we played Spain, he's like, I want to have more possession than them, and everyone's thinking, fuck sake. I was playing right back, like this is not happening. But yeah, he was just one that everyone brought into, because he's just so it's just everything he says, everyone hangs on to every last word, so that's one manager that I've played with for 2 different things.
Was he personal with you when you were younger? 'Cause I know when he went into Celtic,
Nah.
he was a bit standoffish for a lot of players.
Not to speak to anybody really personally.
No, he's very standoffish. But he said like before in interviews that he wants to do that because he doesn't want to get a personal connection, and then it clouds his judgment when he's picking players. So he'd rather just everyone's treated the same. And yeah, at national team level, because sometimes in national teams you get a bit different. Like we had Cahill and Lucas Neal and a few like big dogs that we would call them in their team, and he just was like, "You're all on the same." He would speak to Timmy exactly the same way he spoke to me, or he was just treated everyone the same, which was perfect for me. But yeah, he was just very, very. You just do it his way, or you would be gone. Lucas Neal was like, he was captain. I think he's still the most capped captain, and he was just out the door because he wasn't quite sure of Ange, and just got him out.
Do you prefer that as a player? Or do you like the kind of personal touch that you would have with them, or?
Yeah, I like being able to
distance?
come away from football and have conversations with people.
Yeah.
Because you do spend a lot of time with these people, especially. And I know it's international, but even at that, you're away in hotels for days. So sometimes it's to speak to someone in football, not about football, and get a wee personal feel for each other. So for me, I do probably feel that I like that.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a balance, because Ryan's right. You can't get too close to players if you're a manager, because you've got to drop them and you've got to, criticise them, whether that been in games and training. But you've still got to have some sort of conversation. I remember Jim McIntyre, who was a player at Dunfermline, and we travelled through together as players. And Stephen Kenny got sacked, and Jim got the caretaker manager. And he phoned me the next day and says, "We can't travel in together now." I was like, I'm going to be a fortune in petrol. and then he kind of hardly spoke to me. I was like, all right. He's like, aye. It was just a weird thing, because he was a manager now.
Yeah.
And I used to call him Mac, and I had to call him Gaffer the next day and all that. I was like, he's like, just call me Gaffer. I was like, all right, no bother.
Oh dear.
It was just. So that's what I mean about a difference between being a player and being a manager. It's a huge difference. You just find that as well, Scott, when you hang your boots up and you go into management. You can't have the same relationship that you've had with the dressing room. You've got to kind of separate yourself it, which is something you've got to do, I think.
What kind of manager do you think you'll be, Scott, if you choose to go that route? You take things from managers that you've had?
Yeah, I think you take the good and the bad that you've learned throughout your career. But I think I would like to show a bit of personality with my players, and be someone that they can speak to if they weren't happy with how they were performing or think they could be in the team. I would be a guy where my door would always be open.
Yeah, well then let's move on to the next subject. Have Manchester United lost their soul? Just to give a bit of context, Sir Alex Ferguson will leave his role as Manchester United ambassador at the end of the season. Ferguson has been paid a multi-million-pound sum by United since his retirement as manager in 2013. Tim, what do you make of the whole debacle that's going on there?
Man United are just a shambles, a club. I mean, honestly, Alex Ferguson should be there till he dies, just be as part of Man United until he decides, right, I'm walking away, or he passes away, but whatever. You cannot get rid of him. I mean, he's one of the biggest figures in Man United's history. He's a great ambassador. You see him still going to the games, and I don't know if there's been whispers of maybe he's been speaking to players or maybe stabbing the manager in the back. Something like that. There seems to be something behind the scenes. I just don't understand why, when you look at the money that they're paying guys like Rashford and all that, and then look, they can't pay Alex Ferguson to be an ambassador for the club. I don't understand it. And it's just another own goal for me with Man United. They just seem to be going from bad to worse for a club, probably one of, if not the biggest club in the world. And their supporters, seen that news as well, older supporters who grew up watching Fergie's teams must be just pulling their head out and going, what is going on at the club?
Yeah, well, Eric Cantona certainly had his say on Instagram this week when he heard the news. Says Sir Alex Ferguson should be able to do anything he wants at Man United until the day he dies. Such a lack of respect. It's totally scandalous. Sir Alex Ferguson will be my boss forever. Scott, did that come as a bit of a surprise to you as well, that decision was made quite cold throat?
Yeah, but I think with these sort of companies, their whole thing's about what they're turning over. So they've took that decision, which it kind of shows you a disconnect between what a company who wants to turn over and make money is worth compared to the actual soul of football that we all associate with British football and how important guys are. And Man United wouldn't be where they were if it wasn't for that man. Obviously, his record and what he's done there is second to none. So for me, very surprising in terms of taking that from the club, but not surprising in terms of the way football's going with the sort of people buying into clubs.
Does that just tell you, Brian, that there are your football people involved in football clubs and there's your business people that run things.
Yeah, I think so. And we're all players of ex-clubs, and I think it's great when you get invited back. If I get invited back to Tynecastle, or Tom goes back to Easter Road, and Scott goes back to everywhere. It's great to have those. It's great to have past players coming back, and I think that's something that fans look forward to. And we're talking about Sir Alex Ferguson. Is like what everyone says. I think if you were to pick one person off the street and you say Man United, they'll probably say him.
Yeah.
So to have him booted out of that role when he's not really involved is just like what Tom said. It's just a massive own goal, and it just shows you how far Man United have fallen since SirAlex has been in charge.
He's got a seat in the director's box and everything, Tom, so it's a bit of an awkward decision as well for him to
I don't understand it. I mean, Scott touched on it there. It's just it's a businessman. It's the new owner's prerogative to save money or to cut costs, and he probably doesn't think he's getting value out of what he's paying Alex Ferguson. He's paying him a lot of money, obviously, multi-million pound to be an ambassador. But again, there's people taking more money out of the club, not doing anything really. So, I think it's a real own goal, and as I said, I think a lot of the older Man United fans will be really disappointed with this call.
Would a reduced wage maybe have been received better?
Yeah, I think maybe something like that. But as I said, maybe
released a statement yet?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think he's come out and said
maybe there's something behind the scenes. Maybe there's whispers of him getting in players' ears or interfering with the manager. I don't know. Maybe it's something that's come from the manager. Doesn't want a shadow of Sir Alex kind of hanging over him, and I don't know. But for an 82-year-old man, for him to turn around and say you're not wanted anymore, I think it's terrible.
Yeah, well, I thought I would end the show on something that we've not done before, football edition of Would You Rather. So you might have done some of these, so it's one of the other. So first
Bring
question.
back Peter, man.
First question, score the winner for club or country?
Well, that's fine, he's probably done both.
Well,
No, I've not scored for Australia. I think it would depend on... I've never scored for my country, so I'd say country.
Country?
Right, but if you're scoring in the cup final or scoring for Australia,
I've already scored in the cup final.
That's why I'm asking you. Was that one of the best feelings you had?
Yeah.
Fluke.
It's a great goal.
5 breakaways.
If you were in the position and you could...
Country, I think, for me.
Country?
I've never played for the full. I played all the way up to B, but I never played for the full, so I would go country. I think that'd be some feeling for a Scottish player to score a winner for Scotland.
I'll go with that as well then.
Right, say different. Second one, train early in the morning or late at night?
I've also done both.
Both.
When I was playing in Kuwait, we used to train at 11:30 at night during Ramadan.
Oh, really?
Kuwait City?
Yeah. So it was that was strange, like just super strange training that. And
you
then
just go to bed on your big mattresses full of money.
I'd like the grass on it at night. I think I would like that. A lot of the Spanish teams and that do that as well, don't they? Real Madrid.
Yeah, a lot of
A European game, sometimes you train. If I've played a European game, you would train at the stadium. You would train at maybe the same time.
Oh, right, okay.
This was cool. But I like night. I'm not a morning person. I'm terrible.
All night?
Night, yeah.
Night as well, right, okay. Would you rather play under Jose Mourinho or Sir Alex Ferguson in their prime?
Sir Alex.
Yeah?
Yeah, Sir Alex.
Aye, Sir Alex, yep.
Both, yeah, okay. Score a really embarrassing own goal in a final or be fined a month's wages for being sent off in a derby?
Be fined.
Yeah.
Be fined.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, and finally, would you rather take a penalty against Buffon or Peter Schmeichel?
Scott hated penalties and said he wasn't confident, so he'd probably say neither.
Put the two of them in.
I'd go Buffon. I think Schmeichel looked massive.
Right.
He used to come out and spread himself and all that.
I think it would be better if you scored against Schmeichel.
Right, okay.
So I'm going to go.
Yeah,
Big
and...
Pete.
Yeah, aye, Schmeichel, aye.
Yeah. Well, next time we're on, we'll do some more.
That was fantastic. That's a great wee quiz, that, Kerry. Well done.
Thanks for that, yeah. Tell Peter to take a note out of that book. Thanks to Scott, Ryan and Tam for joining me here today. For all the latest breaking headlines, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. For now, thanks for listening and thanks for watching.